Ambrose of Milan, de Mysteriis, Episode 3. Nunc de Mysteriis dicere tempus admonet, atque ipsam sacramentorum rationem edere, quam ante baptismum si putassemus insinuandam nondum initiatis, prodidisse potius quam edidisse aestimaremur. Now, Ambrose says, the time, the opportunity, the occasion advises that we speak about the mysteries. So here is the subject in the neuter, singular, and nominative. The verb admonet is from the second conjugation verb admonere, and perhaps we want to understand nos here, advises us to, or that we speak, we talk about the mysteries, and that the actual rationem sacramentorum, the meaning, we might say, or the explanation of the sacraments, the very explanation that we put it forth, edere, we publish it or explain it. This verb edere, third conjugation, has a fairly broad meaning. Then we have quam, which is a feminine singular and accusative, and this relative pronoun has as its antecedent rationem. So which explanation? If we had thought, si putassemus, if we had thought that it ought to be introduced insinuandam esse, here is the gerundive, in the feminine singular accusative, the gerundive, with the form of esse implicit, I should use brackets rather than parens there. If we had thought that this explanation, insinuandum, should be introduced before baptism, ante baptismum, to those who had not yet been initiated, we would be judged, aestimaremur, to have betrayed, prodidisse, rather than to have taught or instructed. Now this is an interesting conditional, and it requires a little further explanation. The first part of the sentence grammatically, I believe, is fairly straightforward. We have subject, tempus, admonet, the time admonishes, we might say the occasion suggests that we now speak about the mysteries, and something else, edere. So both dicere and edere are following as the objects of admonet. The time admonets the speaking and the publishing, or the putting forth. And the object of edere is rationem, modified by ipsam. They're both feminine singular accusative. And then we have sacramentorum in the neuter plural genitive. And this sacramentorum is roughly a synonym of mysteriis. Now, the second part of the sentence is more complicated. We have si putassemus and then aestimaremur. So the protasis of this conditional, the si clause or the if clause, has a pluperfect subjunctive, namely putassemus. And this form has been syncopated. So it's actually putavisemus, like so, putavisemus, because the pluperfect subjunctive is built on the third principal part, putavi, like so, but it's very common to leave out that particular syllable so that the form not become too long and cumbersome. So putassemus, putavisemus, if we had thought, that's putavisemus, and this introduces oratio obliqua, indirect statement. The indirect statement has accusative as subject, and that is the relative pronoun quam, whose antecedent is rationem. Then we have the form of the infinitive for indirect statement, and that's esse, which is implicit, and then we have insinuandam, which is the predicate. So quam esse insinuandam, that the reason should be introduced. Quam esse insinuandam, all of that is introduced by putassemus. So that's the protasis. Now the apodosis, the then clause, has not a pluperfect subjunctive, but an imperfect subjunctive, namely aestimaremur. So this is a mixed conditional. It begins as a contrary to fact past, if we had thought, and it ends with a contrary to fact present. And this kind of mixing of conditionals is extraordinarily common in Latin. So if we had thought that the rationem, the quam, should be introduced to those not yet initiated, initiatis masculine plural, dative, before baptism, then we would be judged, aestimaremur, first plural, imperfect subjunctive passive, we would be judged, or thought, prodidisse, to have betrayed individuals, right, to have acted as traitors, rather than to have actually put forth a good explanation. So edidisse here is the perfect infinitive, whereas the earlier Occurrence is a present infinitive.
If you enjoyed that little video lesson, please go ahead and subscribe for us, click the bell, and so forth. Check out the other videos on this page, leave a comment, and please be sure to check out our Patreon page as well.